tent camping for beginners. So if you've never gone camping before, or if you have very little experience, you might be wondering, where do you start? What should I do? That sort of thing. So jumping right into it, first consider your plan. What kind of camping do you plan to do? Do you plan to do dispersed backcountry camping where you have absolutely no amenities, you're just surviving in the wilderness for free, which is a bonus? Or are you going to a paid campsite? It already has all the amenities, it has charging stations, it has showers, it has fresh water, vending machines sometimes, So these are two very different types of camping. First, I would recommend going to a campsite that does have amenities if you're a very extreme beginner, because then you're not just stranded in the wilderness in case something goes wrong. So if you already have a little bit of experience, you can try some backcountry camping. But either way, figure out what your plan is going to be, how long are you going to be camping for, who's going with you, if anyone is going with you. What are you going to bring? Where are you going to put your tent? How are you going to set it up? All these little details are very important for camping. So really, once you kind of determine where you're going to camp, either at a paid campsite or wherever, you also want to put your tent in an optimal position, preferably on top of some sort of hill or high ground. Putting your tent at a low slope is going to attract a lot of moisture, and you're going to be colder than you would be at a high dry area, and also you could just get a lot of uncomfortable moisture in your tent. And worst case scenario, if it rains, you're going to be sitting in a puddle with your tent, so not great. So put your tent on a high dry location, and in most campsites you have to establish your camp a few hundred feet away from streams and other water sources and things like that. So setting up your tent, this video isn't specifically about how to set up a tent. I'll probably do a different video about that. But pretty much just follow the instructions on whatever tent you buy. They always come with instructions on how to set it up. And most of them these days are really not that complicated to set up. Pretty much everything just fits together like a puzzle. You just kind of put up the tent and there you go. It's pretty easy. So once you have your tent set up, you can kind of establish the rest of your campsite. Specifically, if you want your tent to be nice and set up and comfortable for specifically, I would say bring some sort of sleeping pad with you. There are two main types, the inflatable and the foam pads. I always kind of opt for inflatable pads because they deflate and become extremely small and lightweight. That's better for if you plan on backpacking and doing a lot of hiking and, traveling about. If you're just doing, you're traveling in your car and you're bringing a bunch of stuff with you, you don't have to worry too much about being extra lightweight, so you can opt for a foam sleeping pad, and they are pretty comfortable as well. Both options could be pretty comfortable. Then, of course, don't forget your sleeping bag, which is going to keep you warm at night. There are different variations. There's 3-season, 4-season sleeping bags, depending on how cold it's going to get at night. Most likely, if you're just leisurely camping, you're not going to go out in the middle of winter. It's probably going to be summer or something. So you don't have to worry too much about getting an ultra-insulated Mount Everest-style sleeping bag. You could just get something a little simpler, more affordable. But then, outside of your tent, you also want to get the rest of your campsite set up. Starting a little bonfire is always a nice thing to do. Just make sure that you're allowed to have a bonfire. Established campsites should already have a little fire pit a lot of the time that you can use, so that shouldn't be a problem. Some areas you do need a permit to start fires, but again, that kind of depends on your location and what kind of camping you're doing. But once you do have a bonfire set up, then of course you can start cooking, you can make some s'mores, all these different fun things to do. But on a more practical note, you also want to consider the weather for the time that you're going to go camping. If you're just casually camping, it's just best to choose a sunny, relatively warm day so you can just kind of relax and enjoy nature without struggling against the elements. But if you want more of a challenge, maybe you already have a little bit of experience, you want to delve deeper into this, you could try camping on a rainy day, a windy day, you know, not a hurricane or anything, but, you know, just something with a little bit more of a challenge, so you could, you know, figure out how to stay dry in the best way, stay warm, and that sort of thing. But if it does rain unexpectedly, again, you want your tent to be on a high location so it doesn't get flooded out and ruin everything that's in it. But also, and you also want to make sure that you have a tent that's actually good. There are a lot of really, really high-end tents and quite a lot of low-end tents. So, again, if you're just casually camping, you don't need to spend a lot of money on your tent, especially if you're just 1 or 2 people. Then you can just get a small, affordable tent just for the fun of it. If you are really luxurious about it, you can get one of those big kind of miniature city type of tents for your whole family or your friends or whatever. But if you're more about the practicality side of things and you just want to make sure that your tent's not going to blow away in the wind, it's not going to leak if it starts raining, you want to make sure you have a good, durable tent that's meant to withstand the elements and not meant to just maybe hang out at a concert or that sort of thing. So again, just do some research about different types of tents and which ones might be right for you, because there are quite a lot of different tents. Some people don't even use tents, they just set up a tarp and call it a day. For really minimalist camping, but again, everyone's preferences are different on this type of thing. So just think about what type of camping you would most enjoy doing or what you want to experiment with, and then kind of also experiment with the type of tent you get, where you camp, and all that. But that is pretty much all I have to say about tent camping for beginners. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, leave a like and maybe subscribe, and I make a few videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.